Siku. Of course, would like to stop there and continue thereafter. Otoekon Franklin's song, Deadline. People have started contemplating that, it seems the banks are not dispensing the new notes and people are still claiming they don't have access to the new notes. It is most likely that the central bank will extend the deadline. But yesterday, the CBN governor was very public on it and really insisted and even apologized to the country and said, sorry, I don't have that kind of good news. The bad news is that we will not extend the deadline. What do you think about that?
I want to commend the central bank governor, despite the controversies that engulfed his absence recently and his to and fro issue with DSS and on the issue of terrorism allegation and all that. He still summoned the courage to come out to tell Nigerians that he stands on the deadline. I was even thinking that by now he would have been booted out of the office. We saw the release that he went on vacation. Nigerians were not informed when he went, but when he came back and resumed, we were told that he has resumed from vacation. All this, had given me the mind, the belief that the CBN governor is very focused, despite the attacks, the criticism that came up against him. The ability to be able to weather the storms and remain firm is what has given me the belief that he understands what and where he's taking the country to. The CBN is the policy formulator for monetary policy, while the central bank, while the Minister of Finance handles the fiscal policy. Before now, you even heard the Minister of Finance coming out to dissociate herself on the policies of the central bank, of the CBN rather, and the CBN has still maintained her stand. So having met with the senators yesterday and still maintained the stand despite the appeal by the senators, even where senators, some of them have even said they've not seen how it looks. Even myself, I felt and got hold of the new currency, that is the 1,000 Naira currency, I think 2 days ago, and there were about 3 or 4 pieces. in the midst of 10,000, somebody just put 3 pieces of it for me. So I felt it for the first time, and I pocketed it and I gave it out to somebody. So I believe that if the central bank is not playing the ostrich, central bank is not trying to ambush Nigerians, but ensuring that the policy will drive the economy and take us out of inflation, and then also be able to manage the issue of insecurity and checkmate vote buying. For me, I endorse it. Now, I'm not someone who moves with cash. I'm a cashless person. I don't do with cash. If you check the whole of me, you will not see up to 10,000 Naira, because I don't believe carrying cash about. So I do not see anything about the hue and cry about the CBN position. So I think that the CBN has maintained.
It might be like that for you.
Because it's very simple for me, and I believe that everybody should have the same mindset.
At the same time, we cannot overlook the fact that a lot of people do business with huge cash.
I agree with you.
And going cashless is going to affect them one way or the other. And there are categories of people like that.
I am not saying we should go cashless. The CBN is simply saying return all the old notes you have. As simple as that. To any bank, to any of your banks, and get the new note. The question I should be asking the CBN governor is, do we have enough of the new note?
That's exactly where I'm coming, because the writer here on the Guardian newspaper makes it very clear that the Central Bank of Nigeria denies scarcity of the new note. So if the central bank believes that there is a sufficient new note, and the banks are behaving like they don't have them, that is where we have the confusion. What exactly is going on?
If you follow the CBN argument before the senators, he said clearly that banks have this note, but they give it out to their priority customers.
Can you imagine?
And then the weaker customers are given the old note. And every now and then, we keep getting messages, SMS from our banks, return all the old notes. 31st January is the deadline for this. And you get getting them messages. And when you go to your bank to deposit this money, and then if you want to withdraw, they still give you the old one you had deposited. So it is neither here nor there. I want to believe that Nigerians are also, following the policy. But one thing with us is we believe in the late hour rush. Even when we're doing the NIM registration, we are like elastic about it. We only became serious when it was very firm. When your employer started saying, "I will not pay you without your NIM. I will not pay you," then you now keep rushing to go and get it. So even the PVC that INEC has been talking about, campaign that you should go and get your PVC, we are not serious about it. But towards the deadline, you will see rush. So these are all the issues. So Nigerians are used to late, call it 9-minute rush. For this particular policy, I endorse it because I believe that the purpose of it, like the CBN governor had told us much earlier when the policy was first announced, was to checkmate terrorism, to checkmate vote buying, and to also help in strengthening our economy. If these policies are allowed, for me, going by the way the CBN is presenting it, I think it's okay. It should be encouraged. You cannot compare Nigeria with Britain. I read the senators were saying, why not emulate Britain, where changing their currency is going to be for 3 years. The old one with the new one will be operating concurrently. That's what the argument of senators are saying. But Nigeria cannot be like the Britain, where you have a policy that you have a stronger institution. Here, if you don't use stick approach, because there in Britain, they could use stick and carrot approach. But here, if you don't use the stick approach, Nigerians will just feel lazy about it and allow the currency to continue to circulate with the old ones.
Okay, so now this is the minds of the people on this matter. The CBN may be right about the fact that the new notes are not scarce. They're available. And they may be right about the fact that banks are giving the new notes to their priority customers, as you have said. But looking at the fact that, these banks, continue to issue the old notes, and by virtue of that, the old notes continue to be in circulation and all that, it is not the fault of the people. It is not the fault of the customers. It is the fault of the system, the banking system. So based on that, don't you think it would have been a little okay to say, let me shift a little, maybe add 1 more week and give you that as the last chance for you to do so?
I have followed the policy of CBN over time when we have new notes. If they shift, I bet you they shift this deadline to December of this year, Nigerians will not take it serious. Towards December, they will ask for another shift. That is Nigerians for you. We know how we operate here. That is why I said the CBN is using the stick approach, because CBN had over the years, understand how Nigerians respond to policies, especially when they are harsh policies, when they are meant to reposition things. But like you have rightly mentioned, we have a weaker institution. Otherwise, there is no need for the banks that ought to give you the new note, still giving you the old note. There is no need for that. And if we had a stronger institution, the CBN would have had a way to checkmate this kind of lapses coming out from the banks. So any bank that gives you the old note should be penalized or sanctioned. But even at that, let us still believe that between today and the end of the month, that there will be the new note will be fully in circulation. Otherwise, I still tell you, you will still see the old note. I know people who have traveled out, who stash billions in their houses, and these are the ones who are complaining. Those who stash billions in their houses, those who kept these monies, they want to use it for election, are the ones asking for a shift to July. Why not allow it? Let us see what will happen in the 25th of February when we have the president. Let us see what will happen, because those who have bullion vans in their houses, who have kept money to use to buy vote, are the ones asking for a shift for even a week after election. Before election, after election, so that it will not trap them. But the CBN governor, there's a popular parable that when the birds have learned to fly without perching, the hunter have also learned to shoot without missing. So what the CBN is doing now is to shoot without missing. The politicians are trying to fly without perching. So this battle is between politicians who are aspiring for elections in this forthcoming election and CBN. It's not even between me and you. Those who are speaking for their selfish interest. I don't have any stake in the any to go and to go and buy vote. But those who have kept this morning believing that the deadline will be shifted are the ones who are asking for it to be shifted. And these are the senators. Why are they becoming more serious about this particular policy? Because
is it not because they're speaking for the people? They're representing the people there.
Last,
they are speaking because they believe it. If you put your ears on the ground, you will see people even in this town, in this city over you, complaining about that deadline.
You see, if my senator is to speak for me, he should come down to do a town hall meeting and be able to gather the opinion. How many of them have held town hall meetings to ask their people, to ask their constituents if they support the deadline or the shift? They sit in Abuja and feel that it will affect their elections. That is just that. So they are assumed that when they speak, because they will now use the phrase, it will affect the poor masses. Once they say so, now they will now with sentiment, and then we will now cash in and say, hey, if they are speaking for us, it is not true. They want a shift because they have ulterior motives. I support CBN. Let us even allow it after elections. We can now shift it if there is need for that.
All right. The central bank also raised other issues, and I believe that since the issue of the old note doesn't bother you, this particular one that I want to read to you now may bother you, and that is about the increase in the interest rate, which is now 17.5%. I don't know if you have any opinion on that, because the central bank has given a reason for it, because the reason for it, and he said it is to tame the inflationary rates that is going on in the country. But a lot of people have raised concerns about the people who are doing small and medium scale enterprises. These people who are even looking for opportunity to borrow money and invest in their business and return. So, putting it side by side, it is good to tame inflation, but at the same time, the people who are taking these loans for that interest rate, how do we marry both?
I think the timing is bad. The timing is bad because, like you rightly mentioned, small scale enterprises are collapsing. How many private industries do we have? How many of them? Let's even look at Akwa Ibom. How many of them are coming out? How many of them do we have? If a government is running a mono economy, like of petrol or crude oil, and then you don't encourage foreign direct investment, you don't encourage small and medium scale enterprises, then you are only going to kill your economy. The only source of your income, source of revenue is the crude oil. So I would have thought that the CBN would have considered the small and medium scale enterprises before making such a policy. And more so, you need to have a stakeholders forum. You don't just sit in your office on the comfort of your AC, roll on your chair, and just say, I want interest rate to increase. And you say you don't tag it. The purpose is to check inflation rate. When you do that, you will be affecting so many people and put so many people out of business. I think there is need for CBN to always have a human face when they are making policies like this that affect small and medium scale enterprises. Because if you go to the interior villages, to the rural areas, they depend on those skills. How many of them works in the company? How many of them works in a government establishment? Very few. If you want to depend on how many persons will work in government or federal agency or state agency, how many of us? So, but if you don't encourage, give the enabling environment for small and medium scale enterprises to operate, you'll be killing your economy. Everybody will depend on the state government or federal government. That are still doing, the government will over-labored, and that will press and even kill the economy for the country. So the CBN should review that policy and make it more human-friendly and have human face.
Okay. And finally, the CBN has cleared the air on the purported 89 trillion Naira stamp duty that was claimed, that was alleged to be missing. It made headlines for the past 2 weeks, and of course, some people were even calling for probe on the CBN governor and all of that. So here is the CBN governor now saying that the stamp duty is not 89 trillion, but 370 billion. Who do we believe?
Well, I played an audio video in my WhatsApp. Someone sent it to me, where allegedly the CBN governor was, talking about how to mop up or how to get 500 billion to cover excesses that, allegedly were, looted. And I was wondering, the audio was, played and you could hear him. I don't know whether that was the voice. That is an alleged video or audio where you will hear his voice, the voice alleged to be his voice, talking to some other, persons who are directors of central bank, and they will be asking. He will ask, how much can you give? Someone will say 30 million. He say it's still very small. We need more money to mop up to cover this. How do we cover this mess? And all those, sound allegedly to be from the CBN governor and his directors. Those things are subject of investigation. The CBN cannot come out and tell us that the alleged embezzlement of the stamp duty fund is not what was alleged. I want to believe an independent findings should be carried out.
But it is allegation because it has not been proved.
I know.
So if an authority, somebody who is in charge of that institution is telling you, so that's the fact.
No, what I'm saying, you cannot say is, you are someone who allege, someone who assert must prove. The person who came out to accuse the CBN governor has his own fact. And the CBN governor is giving us his own fact. Now we have two facts, subject to what? To verification. It is now left for an independent, agency to intervene and get this fact, and look at the records, and then come out and tell us that these two facts, this one is authentic fact.
So, in your own opinion, which independent organization would you recommend?
Well, you have
that?
the EFCC. You have the EFCC. I will not even ask the DSS, because their duty is not to investigate financial issue, except why they came in was this issue of terrorism. Otherwise, they have no business in trying to investigate the CBN. So I would rather ask that the EFCC be asked to check the two facts and tell us which of these two facts is the authentic fact that we should believe.
But I believe it is that of the CBN.
It is an argument of the dead. You are believing, and I'm also believing both of them. I'm believing both of them.
Because the other person who are alleged, we know how this country works, and we know the rate of assumptions and fake news that fly around and all that. This is not the first time you would hear somebody say a particular thing and it turned out to be false.
You see, Michael, the very day the CBN governor threw his heart into the ring to contest for an election.
And so because of that, he must be accused of everything on the surface of
I'm
the
not
earth?
saying he must be accused. I'm saying the very day he threw his heart into the ring to contest for the president of the country, I knew he has lost grip of the institution. And I knew he will be facing several issues will come up.
But it doesn't look like he has lost grip.
And I'm coming. That is what you think. He is a good leader. He's been able to manage the outer appearance to make it look like that there is no shaking. But truth is that there is need for an investigation because there are serious and weightier allegations surrounding the CBN governor.
All right. So let's take a look at another headline here. A constitution review. We hear from the Nigerian Tribune that Senate bows to governors on refusal of LG autonomy. How does that come to you?
It's a bad news. It's a sad one. I had cause to make a presentation to members of NIPS, National Institute of Strategic Studies, when they came to Akwa Ibom, and they invited me to come and make a presentation on the local government structure in the country. And my presentation to them in their findings was that there is need for us to have an autonomy, that while we have the local government system, 774 local government system becoming 774 poverty center, is because of our institutional mechanisms, the law that established them. Now, our constitution, like I have said over time, is the basis and the nucleus of our existence as a democratic society. The constitution is very faulty. Now, you cannot say the fund, for instance, that is meant for local government is first of all deposited in what you call joint account under section 162, sub 4 and 5, create what is called joint account, state local government joint account. So any fund meant for the local government in the state is lodged first in the joint account, and then they will now have a joint account meeting where the state government will now sit and then decide, in some cases, in some states, decide what the local government should take. And so in some cases, you have where local government will be having the funds that comes from the center will be coming like 200 million. But when they go to the joint account meeting, the council chairman will be going home with less than 20 million to be able to go and run their councils. The governors will sit and decide what they will take and decide how to manage their funds. It is like, this fund is my fund, but you have the overall say on how I should use my fund. That's what happened. And again, the chairman become so dormant and so docile that they cannot even speak for themselves because of the way they became chairman, because of the way they were elected. So then we are simply handpicked and put in the office. So they can't come and challenge the governor. And you have a very faulty constitution that created what is called SIEC, State Independent Electoral Commissions, that will sit with the governors and decide who should be local government chairman. I say this on good authority, where you have the only state that you have elections conducted in the country where you have parties in opposition win. It's Kaduna State. I think Kaduna, we are 8 or 5, precise over. The rest other states, I've not seen anywhere you have the party in opposition wins a local government election.
And even here in Akwa Ibom, there was
everywhere.
In the last local government election, the main opposition party, which is the APC, had to withdraw and said to their members, there is no need to waste money to buy.
Their withdrawal was based on the fact that the SIEC, Aki-SIEC in this case, created more wards, and then the APC withdrew and challenged that action, falsely saying that it is not the duty of Aki-SIEC or the state SIEC to create wards, that it is the duty of INEC. Mm-hmm. Then they now went to court, up to appeal court. I think the court judgment favored the PDP, that actually the SIEC could create this thing, because we are looking at the APC was looking at the area council. The area councils are created by INEC. So in that case, the APC was simply looking at the fact that the same eye should be looked at, that the CX has the powers to create the councils, because this same wards will be used for INEC election. Recall that Mike Igini in the state then said that those wards are not going to be used in election that INEC will conduct. That it is INEC that should be able to create those wards. So, but we are saying here that the local government system is dying, and they have become poverty center that needed a facelift. Recall that in 2018, President Muhammadu Buhari graciously ordered the NFIU, National Financial and Intelligence Bureau of the EFCC, to ensure that funds meant for local government councils are paid directly to the banks of the local government councils, and that if any fund that is made to the council is paid to any other institution or any other bank without the account of the local government chairman, that the EFCC through the NFIU should investigate and arrest such persons. And they now peg a withdrawal limit of the fund to 500,000, that the council chairman cannot withdraw more than 500,000 from the bank except you have a budget approved by the councillors. This was meant to strengthen the local government system. The governors went to court. Even the Algon, for instance, went to court to challenge that the president shouldn't have given them the autonomy without amending the constitution. That it is a constitutional issue that the president should amend the constitution and then remove the joint account. That joint account is there, that they have to still be appendage to the state government. They argued, went to court, and they fought, even when the society to come up to say no. You are even trying to be removed from this pit. You've been there for years, and you are fighting that you want to go back to that pit. I recall Agon coming out to even call me names that we are trying to instigate violence and crisis in the state, in the country. So what are we saying? We are saying that the local government system has been treated as an appendage of state government. That's why you see the governors coming out to fight, to say they must continue to hold them captive.
All right. Now that the Senate has bowed to this pressure, will the problem of the local government have a solution?
I want to be drastic about this recommendation I want to make, and that is that it should be scrapped.
The local government?
Exactly. Should be scrapped. Let the state government create local government councils and fund them the way they want to fund. Because what you have today is the government of the state funding the council. Because when these funds come, they are paid into joint account of the state, where the governor, the attorney general, the accountant general, and the commissioner for finance and local government commissioner will sit and decide what goes to the council chairman. So it's simply put that they are now the one controlling the councils. So for me, the council should be scrapped. If you scrap the councils and then let the governors, you now give the governors, the state will now have powers to create councils. Those ones who can create, like what Tinubu did when he was governor of Lagos State, created 44 area councils in Lagos State. And when the president of Obasanjo opposed him, he now called them development centers, and then he now funded them. So I want to recommend that local government should be scrapped. Then remove the local government from the constitution and put it in the concurrent list in where the governors and the state can create, so that the assemblies of the states can now sit down and say we want 50 local government councils. They create it and then use the fund of the state to fund it the way they want.
Is there anything the labor unions can do to salvage this situation?
The labor, I read this morning, the labor kicked against it, but it doesn't really make any sense. You go, because it's a matter of constitutional review. Here, the power of lobbying. The senators are also, some of them, they are from the states. Some of them want second term. They want the governors of the state to support them. That is why I have, over time, picked hold on the formation of the Forum of Nigerian Governors. I call them businessmen forum. They have no business in the country. They are just businessmen who just sit in that forum of governors to twist the economy and start act as a pressure group to twist Mr. President and twist our policy. The body is not known to law. I voted for my governor. I did not vote for Nigerian Governors Forum. And so when that forum begins to talk, I think they speak for me. I am against it. They are the ones who are causing more confusion in this country. Nigerian Governors Forum, they are not known to law. They should not be the one that will be imposing and sticking. Now, what they have done now is to stifle the National Assembly. And those senators who want second term, those members who want second term, will now listen to the governors of their state. And even when these bills are sent to the local government, to the states assemblies, governors who have influence over the assemblies will tell the assemblies, you can't pass this action, remove this area, and then it will be stood down. So for me, the best thing to be done is that let the councils be scrapped, so that when it is scrapped, the governors will now have a field day to fund it the way they want, to do it the way they want. That is where I think we can go about it.
All right. So let's take a look at what's happening on the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper, we see here the banner headline, Senators, Reps draw battle line with CBN over Naira notes. Lawmakers seek 6 months extension. Today deadline, sacrosanct, Apex Bank insists. And we read and see that the PSC is saying to DIGs and AIGs, retire if you're due. Abia to enjoy export hub status, says Tinubu. A tribunal fixed this Friday for verdict in Oyetola versus Adeleke. President heads a 14-man panel to end petrol crisis. And of course, we move from that to the New Telegraph. The New Telegraph newspaper now. NAS asks CBN to extend deadline by 6 months. Reps to meet CBN bank chiefs over new note scarcity tomorrow. 6 Buhari's intervention review of daily withdrawal limit charges. Sensitize your people on new notes. Apex Bank tells plateau monarchs and clerics. COVID-19 upsurge. Unvaccinated passengers to Nigeria will receive jabs at airports as Nigeria records 42 new cases between December 31, 2022 and January 13, 2023. And of course, above the masthead, Buhari inaugurates Lagos Blue Rail Line. Phase 1 leaves for Senegal. Constitution alteration. National Assembly rejects local government autonomy. The President appoints Arase Police Service Commission Chair. Insecurity. CAD President decries calamity, bloodletting in Benue. And straight up to the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun newspaper is up next. NAS, CBN clash over old Naira note deadline. January 31 date sacrosanct. Emefiele, you've to extend till July. Federal lawmakers. LP condemns attack on Obi after Katsina rally. FG stops refined sugar importation. Targets 500 billion ethanol power generation. A new master plan. No extension for police officers due for retirement. BSC directs affected DIGs, AIGs, CPs, others to go silent on IGP. Let's take a look at that. There has been this, imbliclo, a kind of cold war between the Inspector General of Police and the Police Service Commission. But it's something that has been for a long time now. But this particular issue of retirement of the Inspector General of Police The Police Service Commission is silent on it, but a lot of people, including some human rights lawyers in the country, have even gone to court to ask the president to remove the IGP because he is due for retirement and all of that. Let me ask you what your opinion is on the matter. Do you think, anyway, let me not open it up. What do you think about the fact that the IGP is due for retirement, but the federal government insists that he has 4 years tenure?
Look at it this way. The function of the Police Service Commission is to recommend an officer who is qualified to be the IGP to Mr. President for an appointment. And the President will now submit the name to the National Assembly for screening and confirmation. This is the chain, and this is the way it operates in a law environment like Nigeria, where the rule of law, where the law is supreme, where you have a democratic system and you have institution of government. When we are discussing the central bank, we discuss about weak institution. It is the persons who are up there that are making the institution look weak. Now, the president cannot appoint IGP without the Police Service Commission recommending. If you do that, you have bypassed the procedure. And then one that is challenged in court, it will fall flat. You are the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. It doesn't make you the alter ego. It doesn't make you to crush the law on the head. So the president, did not act in good faith. He did not act in line with the rule of law. He didn't act in line with what the law says should be. The president didn't just emerge president. He emerged president through a democratic process where he was elected by people.
I think in this case, it is not the president directly, because when that argument was thrown up, it was the Minister of Police Affairs that I know you would say that he was speaking on behalf of the federal government. He said, look, the IGP has 4 years tenure, so we are not planning to remove him.
You don't even get my argument here. The minister is an appointee of Mr. President, and he was speaking on behalf of Mr. President. And that is why the president has not come out to disown him. So you can now put the buck on Mr. President's table. That is why I am now telling you that Mr. President didn't just emerge from the blues, like he was out of over 200 million Nigerians. He is the one that is very fit to be president. We voted for him and he emerged through a democratic process and swore to uphold our constitution and the rule of law. He has breached his oath of office. He is not acting in line with the constitution. If there is a law that establishes Police Service Commission, you don't just repeal that law by your action. The Police Service Commission still exists, and their function is that they have to recommend who is qualified to be promoted, to be appointed IGP to Mr. President. The President will now forward that name to the Senate for screening. Then once this is screened and confirmed, the President will now swear in the person.
Was that not done?
That is what I'm saying. You've now heard the PSC saying that they did not take part in it.
No, they didn't say so. They are saying that the IGP, even if we recommended him to you for appointment, but he is due for retirement, so let him retire and go.
No. They are not saying that they recommended him for a second appointment. Get the argument right. They recommended him for an appointment as IGP to serve for 4 years, not to serve for 4 years, another 4 years. So this second appointment, did he pass through them? He did not. So if he didn't pass through them, it therefore means that the president has jumped the process. When he was appointed, the PSC recommended him to the president. So they have his records that by certain time he will be due for retirement by virtue of his age or by virtue of his service in the police force. So when you now sit in your office and use fiat to extend his tenure, and mind you, when you appoint him, you don't appoint him for 3 months. An IGP will stay for 4 years. So when you now reappoint him, if for another 4 years, that is what it simply means. So you don't say because you feel he should stay and manage the election for 3 months, and after which he will go. No. Once an IGP is appointed, it's for 4 years full course. So if he is due for retirement, he should go. Let another IGP be appointed. And in any case, you will be dampening the morale of those ones who are aspiring to become IGP, who by the next 4 years of the current IGP's tenure elongation, they will be due for retirement, and you will be destroying the police institution. Because by this IGP sitting there, you would have made those who are due for retirement, they will go, and he will still be there.
Later, let's make this argument, on continuity. For instance, this current IGP has been working for the past 4 years.
Yes.
And has known, all the setups and all the nooks and crannies of the police for the past that he helped to set up. And this is a very critical time for the country. Election is going to come, and he has helped to arrange police officers and all that. Now, don't you think the timing for the retirement is even wrong? Because if a new person comes, who knows if he will be able to know exactly where the police was in this regard and be able to hit the ground running?
I must commend the current IGP for being disciplined and introducing discipline in the police force. He came on board when we had the EndSARS protest, and he was able to stabilize the polity and put up structures that have made the police to become stronger. Today, you don't have much of police brutality. As a human rights group, I have not received much complaints and petitions about police brutality in Akwa Ibom and maybe in other states, because we have a pool where we get all these reports as human rights group, where we pick it and then we advocate for it. So we've not been seeing much of it under his leadership. So that for me is kudos for him. You don't even see much police checkpoint or roadblock, since he came on board. And this issue of tinted glass permits, he came and he said, he abolished it and made it very easy for people to, ply the road and the rest. But having said all this, you must not forget the law that brought you into office. And the law simply says you are due for retirement. It is not my fault that the retirement is due within the time of election. And don't forget that he is not Nigerian police force. He is the IGP. And that is why we want to have stronger institutions and stronger men. So he could be removed. Well, supposing, God forbid, that he had an accident and then he's not capable to work, will you still allow him to be there? He will not. So he shouldn't be the one that will stay because election is coming. He has deputy, he has DIGs, he has AIGs, he has people who are qualified, more intelligent. Until they are there, you will know their skill. So when you put someone to sit tight, you dampen the morale of those who also have aspiration to be IGP, those who also have good things to offer. Until before he came on board, the IGP that was there before him, somebody like him wasn't even seen. So until you are appointed IGP, your intellect, your ability, your know-how will be put into use, because all what you do is you contribute to the IGP who is on seat. So for me, if the law has caught up with him, he should go.
PDP is saying we will reunite Nigerians, and that is coming directly from Atiku Abubakar. And they've taken time to explain why the party chose Okowa as vice presidential candidate. And they went ahead to say with PDP in government, IOCs will return to Niger Delta. And this one is coming from Governor Dom Emmanuel, a governor here. So what do you think about those? First and foremost is the issue of reuniting Nigerians. How?
If I want to look at it, I'll look at it this way. The country has been so divided. This issue of Fulani headsmen and this issue of insurgents has so divided the country. And you now have this secession movement, people trying to ethnic group coming out to agitate for freedom is becoming more pronounced under this administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Because when you don't do things in line with the law, you leave the people who are oppressed, who feel disenchanted, who feel rejected, to begin to agitate for their right. And by so doing, you will have more crises. You have violence and crisis where there is no law, where the law has been put aside, like the issue of the IGP. If tomorrow you see the police go on protest, will you fault the police? You will not fault them. I'm not saying that they should go. But when you put the law aside and act as if there is no law, you make people to go to agitate. So the country has been under, this government has been so divided. The Christians, the Muslims, you can even see what is happening in the north. Kaduna, for instance, the northern Kaduna, the violence, the killing and the maiming, the insecurity, the kidnapping and the rest had made, you don't even know, okay, imagine a priest being roasted alive in his house. And all this has led to, you send a signal to the Muslims that Christians, and Muslims are after you. And then where you have the Christians and the Muslims live together, there is that breach of trust. The trust is no more there between the Christians and the Muslims, even amongst the ethnic groups. Today you see the Igbos don't have confidence in the Hausas. Hausas don't have confidence in the Igbos, Fulanis, and all this is happening under this APC government. I'm not saying that the APC has caused it, but the way the country has run has so polarize the polity and make it look like there is no unity in the country. So any party that offers to come and reunite could catch in to use that one as a campaign machinery to woo voters and woo vote for itself. So I wouldn't blame the PDP for saying that they would do that, because they have catch into a loophole that has been created by the government in power. Now, for you don't manage to say that the IOCs will return to the oil producing zone, that is the Niger Delta region. It's a welcome development. I want to see the IOCs return. I want to see ExxonMobil return to Akwa Ibom.
How is it a welcome development? He just promised that if the PDP takes over, that is going to happen.
That is what we. No, the point is what we will
ask them how.
We will even ask them how.
Yeah.
Now why we'll ask them how is that, like I said, that will be a good news, because for instance, I will be sentimental. I will be so tribalistic about it. I want to see Mobil return its headquarters, for instance, to Akwa Ibom, because ExxonMobil alone has over 60.
Is it not dicey that the People's Democratic Party held sway in this country all of 16 years, and that didn't happen?
That is what I'm saying. How? The question will be how, and then if we are able to interrogate the PDP to hear how will they return the IOCs to the oil producing region. Like I have just said, that I will be particularly interested because I have played the oil politics. I know how the oil politics works. Look, for example, the Ogoni land that we'll talk about clean up exercise today. Shell can no longer operate there because of that issue. If I have worked in oil companies, I know how they operate. And if you have the IOCs come to this area to operate, you will create employment, you will exchange manpower, you will also exchange knowledge and skills. That is one side. Beyond the governor of Akwa Ibom State, who is the president or the chairman of the PDP campaign council saying it, the question will be, how will this be achieved?
Okay. So on a very last note, Buhari chairs 14-man committee as fuel scarcity worsens. DSS, Customs, EFCC, others, members, president raising against time expert, hawkers sell petrol for 500 naira per litre in Abuja and all that. About this committee, we've had committees. Here, there is a committee like this, which is chaired by somebody who is alleged to have a filling station himself. So when you set up committees like this, what is supposed to be the terms of reference for these kinds of committees to be able to give the level of result that Nigerians are expecting, not just to set committees and nothing comes out of such committees?
It is saddened, and I want to say, without messing words, that the Minister of Petroleum, who's supposed to be, abreast with the issues, is now putting up a committee. He wants to act through a surrogate. President is the Minister of Petroleum. That is why I called him Minister of Petroleum. He ought to be the one to address us, but he wants to speak to us through surrogate, through committee. Like you have rightly mentioned, we've had several committees that will work and then bring their report and they will put it aside. Just to buy time. The committee will just to buy time to make Nigeria feel, have temporary support that the president has, that the Minister of Petroleum has put up a committee that will work. What happened to the office of the Minister of Petroleum? What happened to the Minister of State for Petroleum? Why haven't they been speaking to us? What happened to DPRO? What happened to PPROA? These are all agencies of government that ought to work. What happened to PPROA? Petroleum Pricing Monitoring Committee. What happened to DPRO? The Department of Petroleum Resources.
I think the Department of Petroleum Resources, was scrapped. It's no longer there.
They have been operating because they seal off substations in Akwa Ibom State.
The DPR? Are you sure?
Of course, I saw a report. Google, you will see it. So, what happened to all these committees? These are all government institutions. If these ones have failed, what assures you that a committee that has no legal backing, a mere, surrogate committee will come up with anything concrete? I think it's just a face saving and buying of time. Nigerians are dying. We are buying fuel at a very exorbitant prices. The pump prices are being increased on a daily basis, and yet you don't even see this fuel. And if you see the ones that are being adulterated, and the meters are even being adjusted. I heard my friend said he bought fuel somewhere along a car road in Uyo. He bought the fuel. Today his car is parked at the mechanic. I have been a victim of that severally, where I will buy fuel and drive from this point to this point. The car will just got spoiled. They will say fuel pump. They will change it, and then I will put another fuel pump. Spend much money putting it, and then it will affect my engine, my car engine, because of what? Because the Minister of Petroleum is not doing what he should be doing. And if don't forget that there was a time they imported fuel that was adulterated, and that damaged almost several cars in this country, and nobody came out to apologize to us.
Otuekong, the Minister of Petroleum, who is the president, may have been doing everything possible, but
behind the camera.
But then the system does not allow him to work.
No. I want to fault you.
Don't forget that corruption in Nigeria is endemic, and
that is what he came to stop.
And it is systemic, and a tree can't make a forest.
No, he came to stop corruption.
He is just a tree.
No, he came.
So if there is conspiracy,
don't hold brief for him.
I'm not holding brief for him. I am not holding.
He came to stop corruption.
I know.
But he comes to
I am a
corruption.
citizen of this country, and I know
what is
that
subsidy?
A certain people sabotage the system if the system is not, or whatever policy is not favorable to them. It happens even here at Iban.
Who is the system?
The people that are manning different offices.
No, you must get it right
here. Different offices. The president there are people who are in charge of offices, and they conspire and make things not to work.
Has he fired anyone? Have you heard anyone being fired under his leadership? It's the box up at his table here. He appoints those he feels he can work with. Those he feels have clear record. And here is the president who was the Minister of Petroleum some years ago, who had even chaired PTF, who understood several things about the petroleum industry, came on board to fight corruption, came on board to stop subsidy. Today he's still paying for subsidy. So he's paying to who? So it means that he comes to now over corruption that he came to fight.
The subsidy regime is ending from April.
April of how many more months?
State Director, Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network, Akwa Ibom State Chapter. We must thank you for today.
Thank you so much, Michael.
All right, so that's the end of that session. We take a short break. When we come back, we are going to speak with the National President, National Association of Resident Dr. Nats, here in the studios. Please don't go away.
Overwhelming voices where everyone has different opinion on different